Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about face-to-face. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do remote software engineering teams that follow agile comply with the agile principle? The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. They video conference, they take a phone call. Is there more to this? Because the thing is, there seems to be this idea, which I think is sort of, it's once again, it's a testament to the vast quantity of stupid people in the world. I would say the vast quantity of people who have no whatsoever proof or any type of, like, they don't even possess the capacity to reflect that different circumstances have different effects on people. And so what they do instead is that they go with what they're, as I like to say, they're gut driven rather than anything else. They go with what they experience, which is sort of, how a dictator decides that there's a law for no tobacco, not because, there's a reason for that, but rather because they don't smoke. And it's the same thing in companies. Why should everybody come back to the office? Oh, well, because the HR person has no job anymore. Or the CEO has a worldview of that all the workers are going to start fucking off and not doing their job unless that he or she can be a manager type and like be certain that they're all in the office, and that creates what? Worker motivation. If the whole, it's sort of like saying that, my people are only, it's sort of, if you need a gym to exercise, then you're probably not going to get fit in the first place. Sort of the same deal in a company. If you have to force people to come to the office to do a good job, what happens when you're not in their office or their cubicle? Like, you're treating them so shittily that you can't trust that they're going to do a good job when your eyes when your back is turned? Yeah, but like then the problem is a very different thing from what you think it is. It's just that you have the same company strategy as the sitcom managers from the 90s, and like, yeah, great, you're incompetent. That is what it comes down to. So the same thing goes for this principle that face-to-face conversations are a necessity. What is necessary is that you create a connection with people. It is necessary for you to understand that not all conversations can effectively be held through emails and instant messaging. That is very important, and I completely agree with, in terms of that you have to have, well, depending on how you define a face-to-face conversation, you need to understand that humans have, as at its highest level, human communication happens, as the statement goes, face to face, because nothing is possible to convey. If we think about like all the ways we convey like tone and like mental states, like these sort of subtle cues, etc., all of that goes lost in translation when you're dealing with the back and forth in a text format like pull requests or anything like that. But that on the other hand, not all communication has to happen that way. Not, you mean, if I say please change this line of CSS, or like this unit test or something like that, I don't have to have a meeting to do that. I've been in situations, guys, where I have asked, could you just tell me which system you're using? And the person told me that we had to schedule a meeting for that for 15 minutes. And we couldn't agree on a time, so it took 2 days. And 2 days later, I called this person up, and it took me longer to explain who I was and what I was doing in the company, and then they basically just said one sentence: "Yeah, we're using this system." Okay, thank you. And then we hung up. That was the whole conversation. I don't even remember what the dude's name is or anymore. It was the most pointless thing I've ever seen. And that's not where you want to go, because it's ineffective. It's sort of like one of the other principles, which is all the software teams, they should sit together so that they can effectively talk to each other. Yeah, but that only really works if they like each other. Which is once again the incompetence of managers who don't understand how people work, and they don't understand what matters. Because it doesn't matter if the designers are sitting next to the front-end developers in sort of the same building if none of them like each other. And you can't control that, because you're an incompetent manager who can't do anything. Which is usually where you have people who say these sorts of things, where you should, get back to the office because you're unproductive. And I'm like, how do you know? How do you know that they are unproductive? Is it that they were, do you have data showing velocity before and after? Of course not, because that would mean that you have to think ahead. And you don't do that, because you're a manager. And so this notion is based, as I said, on more pseudoscience gut feeling than you can possibly imagine. The thing to accept, though, which is the other extreme, which is where it's always an extreme case where you have these sort of software developers who have social anxieties. They have they don't really care about the work, which is the thing that you want to achieve. Because if you have people who care about the work, all of this stuff happens organically, because every single human who's ever tried to explain something very complicated, that was one of the reasons why I do video conference types of video vlogs things rather than just write blog articles or things like that. Because relaying information it's a difficult thing, and if you have an understanding of how people usually consume different concepts, you understand that, for example, a 50-page novel might not be the right thing to put in, an Instagram thing, or like a platform where usually people are looking more at images, because images is the thing that they're looking for right in that state. And just as the same thing can't really be a pull request, but it's perfect for a blog article with a lot of examples, and when you really want to go deep on a topic and show the theory behind something. And if you want to have a conversation that builds trust within the team, well, maybe then a video conference works. Because frankly, guys, I've been at a company where my manager has basically done the same thing. They said, you have to come into the office, and I go, all of the people in my team, we work across the world, there's no one there apart from me. So I'm just gonna sit there while I have to have a video conference for every meeting, for every get together. It's silly. And guys, I've seen people, and that actually does happen, who quit their job because their manager is so incompetent that they don't understand the difference between a face-to-face conversation and sitting in the office. So what I want you to take away from this is that there's no problem having a face-to-face conversation over Teams or Slacks or anything like that, because the thing that makes you not do that has more to do with other factors than, no, you're not in the office. The reality is, guys, that you could sit next to a person who there would be a gigantic value for you to talk to, and you will never talk to that person. Have you ever been on a bus? It's an idiotic notion that video conferencing and remote work and so forth is impossible to sustain because you can't be in the same workspace. Sure, there are absolutely factors that would make a difference if you go to the same workplace, but this idea that you can't make it work or that it's not going to be effective for you is silly. There are pros and there are cons with both approaches. And the thing about face-to-face conversations, guys, it comes down to how comfortable are you with the other person. Jump into a conversation with that person. Guys, I've worked with people who I talk to we're speaking with video conferences and like chats and so forth, that I've talked to so much that they became my best friends, and I didn't see them for 7 years. This is completely based on the idea that there is some benefit to physically being in the same room. And you can do that. I've worked in teams where we get together for workshops and things like that, even though people are from across, they come from all over the world, and it's nice, but ultimately it makes no difference to the overall work. The people who are scared of each other, who don't really want to work together, they still are scared of each other and don't really want to work with each other, because being in the same room made absolutely no fucking difference whatsoever. And if you were doing it even on a daily basis, it makes no fucking difference whatsoever, because people are complicated. And having a screen between them makes no difference when you're dealing with that sort of complexity. And anybody who has ever seen a bunch of people work together will know that people have different chemistry. And the best thing you can do is to try to bridge any issues that happen from that intercommunication and like that chemistry mismatch and so forth. And I promise you guys, remote work is not the thing that is going to decide whether or not your team is going to be effective or not when it comes to communication. Have a great day.